words fell from his mouth so casually, like nothing beneath them mattered, like they were simple, harmless, just chillin'. But his eyes said something else. His eyes always said more than his lips dared. I'd been around him enough to know the difference. There was the version of him everyone else saw. Laid back, too cool to care, laughing loud at jokes that weren't funny, tossing careless words into the air. And then there was the other version, the one that slipped through when no one else was paying attention. The one who looked at me too long. The one whose smile lingered at the edges of something dangerous. That night, it was just the two of us in his apartment. No distractions, no friends around to crack jokes and shift the mood. Just music playing low from his Bluetooth speaker. The air thick with the smell of his cologne. Something musky, heavy, almost sweet at the edges. The blinds were half drawn, and the city light outside cut pale streaks across his living room floor. He sprawled out on the couch like he owned it, legs spread wide, his arms stretched across the backrest, shoulders loose, face tilted toward me with that look I could never quite read. "Relax," he said, when I shifted in my seat. "Ain't nothing serious. We just chillin'." But he didn't look relaxed. Not really. His eyes tracked me like a hunter's. Steady, deliberate, unblinking. Every time I moved, I felt the weight of his stare follow, dragging heat across my skin. I tried to laugh it off, tried to match his ease. I leaned back against the cushion, forced my body into casual angles, told myself I wouldn't overthink it. But it was impossible not to. Not when his knee brushed mine. Not when his hand slid across the couch so close to my shoulder I could feel the warmth of it. Not when he leaned forward to pour another drink and his chest nearly grazed mine. "You good?" he asked, passing me the glass, his fingers brushing against my knuckles a second too long. "Yeah," I said quickly, maybe too quickly. My voice betrayed me, but I didn't care. He chuckled, deep in his chest. "You actin' like I'm trying to scare you or something." I swallowed, tried to match his grin, but it came out shaky. "Maybe you are." "Nah," he murmured, shaking his head. "I told you already. We just chillin'." The words wrapped around me again, but this time they felt like a spell. An incantation. As if he was daring me to believe him, daring me to ignore everything my body felt in that moment. Because my body knew. The heat of the room pressed heavy against my skin. The bass from the speaker thumped slow and steady, echoing in my chest like another heartbeat. His scent filled my lungs until it was the only thing I could taste. And the space between us, that small, charged gap, felt alive, buzzing, daring either of us to cross it. I tried to focus on the television, some movie he'd put on that neither of us were really watching. The screen flickered, casting quick shadows across his jawline, catching the sharp lines of his cheekbones. I shouldn't have been staring. I shouldn't have noticed the way the light curved against his throat, or the way his lips parted just slightly when he exhaled. But I did. God, I did. And then he shifted. Just slightly. His thigh pressed into mine with more weight this time, deliberate. He didn't move away. Didn't even acknowledge it. Just sat there, like nothing had happened, sipping his drink slow, eyes glued to the screen. I froze, my pulse climbing. Should I move? Should I lean back? Laugh it off? Create space? Every rational thought screamed at me to. But I couldn't. The contact burned in the best way. His warmth seeped through the fabric of my jeans, spread into me, and I found myself leaning, just slightly, not enough to be obvious, but enough to feel him. His lips curled into a half-smile then, as if he knew, as if he'd been waiting for me to stay. "See," he whispered, voice low, dangerous. "Told you. We just chillin'." But I knew better. He had that way of looking at me that stripped away every excuse I tried to build. Like he could see through all the nervous laughs. Every time I pretended to focus on the movie. Every sip I took from my glass just to keep my hands busy. The truth was written all over me, and he knew it. His leg pressed firmer against mine now, no more hesitation. The contact wasn't accidental anymore. It was a claim. And when he finally turned his head to look at me, the room seemed to fold in on itself. "You nervous or something?" he asked, voice slow, steady, like he had all the time in the world. I forced a laugh, though it cracked halfway out. "Why would I be nervous? We're just chillin'." He finished it for me, lips curling, eyes locked on mine. He leaned back, his body wide and open, relaxed in a way that mocked the racing of my heartbeat. "Yeah, I know." But he didn't break eye contact. He didn't move his leg away. If anything, he leaned closer, his shoulder brushing mine now. His presence swallowed me whole, and I was drowning in it. I should have moved. I should have shifted back, drawn a line in the sand. But instead, I sat frozen in his gravity, every nerve in my body tuned to him, waiting for his next move. "You ever wonder," he murmured suddenly, tilting his head, "why it feels different when it's just me and you?" The question hit like a spark in dry grass. My throat tightened. "Different how?" I managed, though my voice was barely more than a whisper. He chuckled again, but softer this time, like the sound was meant only for me. "Don't play dumb. You feel it too, don't you?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. The air between us pulsed with something too sharp, too heavy to name. I stared at his lips, and for a second, I swore he leaned closer. "Man," he said, sitting back suddenly, dragging the moment out of reach. He picked up his glass, swirling the liquid lazily before sipping. "Don't get in your head. I told you. We just chillin'." But the smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth said otherwise. He was enjoying this, enjoying watching me squirm, watching me try to hold myself together while he pulled every string I had. The movie played on, voices from the screen blurring into nothing. All I could hear was the sound of his breathing, slow and steady, and the faint tap of his fingers against his glass. His thigh never moved. His shoulder never shifted away. Minutes stretched into something unbearable, and then, without warning, he set his drink down and leaned forward, elbows on his knees. The movement brought him so close that his face hovered just inches from mine. "You look like you got something to say," he murmured. I swallowed hard. My voice wouldn't work. My hands clenched against my knees, fighting the urge to reach out, to close the gap. He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle he enjoyed taking apart. "Nah, you don't gotta say nothin'. I already know." The way he said it, low, certain, unshakable, made my chest tighten. My skin prickled, alive with a heat I couldn't shake. Then he leaned back again, but this time his arm fell across the back of the couch, resting behind me. His fingers brushed lightly against the back of my neck. Casual, like he wasn't even thinking about it. But every nerve in my body lit up. I closed my eyes for half a second, the contact too much, too dangerous. When I opened them, he was staring straight at me, that same steady look that had undone me all night. "You good?" he asked again, voice softer now. I nodded, though I didn't believe it myself. His hand lingered, fingers barely grazing the edge of my skin, until I thought I might lose my mind. Then he leaned in, close enough that his breath warmed my cheek. "Don't overthink it," he whispered. This is just us, chillin'." But his fingers pressed firmer against my neck, no longer accidental. His thigh shifted, his body angled closer, and the spell snapped tight around me. It wasn't chillin'. It had never been. And as his eyes burned into mine, daring me to admit it, I realized I didn't want it to be. He didn't ask. He didn't need to. One moment his arm was draped lazily along the couch behind me, and the next it slid lower, steady and sure, until his palm rested against the top of my shoulder, heavy, claiming. The weight of it sent a jolt through me, pinning me in place. "You tense?" he murmured, eyes locked on mine. "Like you don't trust me." I opened my mouth, but nothing came. The truth tangled on my tongue. His fingers moved, slow circles against the back of my neck. Not a massage, no, it was subtler, a reminder of who was in control of the moment. He leaned in so close that I could feel the warmth radiating off him, his breath stirring against my cheek. "You do trust me, though," he said, and it wasn't a question. I nodded before I even realized it. That smile, the slow, knowing one, spread across his face. "Good." Then, without warning, he tugged me closer, closing the distance between us. My body tilted toward him, helpless against the pull. His thigh pressed harder into mine, his chest brushing against my arm, and every inch of space between us evaporated. "See," he whispered, voice low and rich. "Ain't no big deal. We just chillin'." But the way his hand slid down my arm, lingering at my wrist before guiding it toward his thigh, told a different story. He wasn't asking. He wasn't waiting. He was showing me, piece by piece, how far I'd already given myself away. My pulse hammered in my ears. Every instinct screamed that I should break the tension, laugh, pull back, say something light to shatter the heat between us. But I couldn't. My body betrayed me, leaning into him, craving more of that steady, dangerous touch. His fingers laced around my wrist, firm but not rough, and he spread his legs wider, guiding me closer with a patience that was more intoxicating than any drink. My breath caught, the moment stretching, until I thought I'd burst from the pressure. And then he let go, just like that. I blinked, stunned, as he leaned back against the couch again, arms spread, head tilted back with a lazy grin. "Relax, man. You actin' like I'm about to eat you alive. I told you, chill." But he knew exactly what he was doing. He was showing me how easily he could pull me into his orbit, how completely I'd let him steer the moment without a fight. The room hummed with the silence that followed. My chest rose and fell too fast, my palms sweating against my knees. He watched me the whole time, that smug ease never slipping. Finally, he leaned forward again, elbows resting on his thighs. His eyes locked onto mine, dark and unreadable. "You don't even know how wide you already opened yourself up, do you?" The words struck deep, heavier than the touch of his hand. My throat went dry. "Don't worry," he smirked, sitting back again, folding his arms across his chest. "I ain't gonna ruin the vibe. Like I said, we just chillin'." But the way he said it, smooth, deliberate, dripping with double meaning, left no room for doubt. He'd already taken what he wanted, control. The movie ended without either of us noticing. Credits rolled, the screen dimmed, but the air between us stayed thick, alive, charged with everything we hadn't said out loud. I sat there, heart still pounding, trying to make sense of what just happened. The touches, the closeness, the way he'd pulled me in like it was the easiest thing in the world. He stretched, yawning, casual as ever, like nothing had shifted, like he hadn't just cracked me open with a look, a touch, a few carefully chosen words. "You good?" he asked again, the same question he'd asked all night. I nodded, though I knew I wasn't. I'd never be the same kind of good again. "Cool." He stood, towering over me, his body blocking the faint light from the blinds. He grinned down at me, that slow, dangerous grin that said he knew exactly the storm he'd left behind. "Told you, man. We just chillin'." And then he walked toward the kitchen, leaving me alone on the couch with the ghost of his hand on my skin and the echo of his words twisting in my chest. Just chillin'. But I knew, and so did he, that nothing about what happened tonight was casual. Nothing about the way he spread me wide, without even needing to touch beyond the edge, was anything close to innocent. The room was quiet now, the music long since stopped. I sat there in the stillness, heat still coursing through me, breath shallow, replaying every second in my head. His voice, his touch, his stare. All of it burned into me, carved deep where I couldn't shake it. Just chillin'. The words rang hollow now, but they clung to me all the same. Because maybe that's what made it worse, the way he could disguise everything under that casual mask. while my world tilted off its axis. I closed my eyes, leaned back against the couch, and let the weight of it crash over me. We weren't just chillin'. Not anymore. And the truth was, I didn't want to be.